Let us pray. Our Father, we ask for your strength and encouragement in our service of you through our service of others. We ask for your gift of wisdom to guide us in making good laws and good decisions for the present and the future of Alberta. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presentations.
Pinokarimbi.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the member for Stettler, the Honourable Premier, I wish to table petitions from 58 teachers representing 7 schools from the Stettler constituency regarding the Teachers' Retirement Fund issue.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions.
Jasper, please.
I rise under Standing Order 40 to provide notice of a motion on urgent and pressing matter. I'll explain the circumstances when the motion is filed, but it's when that matter comes, rather. But it's the Legislative Assembly recommend to the government that it take urgent action in support of a worldwide ban on trafficking in endangered species, endangered animal parts, and artifacts, and in particular ban the sale of such artifacts in the province of Alberta.
Introduction of bills.
Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
Request leave to introduce Bill number 14, the Motion Picture Development Amendment Act 1992. This being a money bill, His Honor the Honourable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends the same to the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this act is to provide interim financing for the motion pictures produced in our province by the film community. Currently, the Alberta Motion Picture Development Corporation can make an equity investment in motion pictures and can only provide loans for pre-production activities. Interim financing, on the other hand, covers costs incurred between the pre-production stage and the release of the finished product to the distributor. This act would provide the corporation with the ability to charge an application fee, and the revenue would be kept by the corporation also. Thank you, sir.
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development and Trade has moved first reading of Bill number 14, Motion Picture Development Amendment Act 1992. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 14, Motion Picture Development Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Elzinga, is now read a first time.
Minister of Advanced Education.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 15, the Universities Foundations Amendment Act 1992. Sir, this being a money bill, His Honor the Honourable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends the same to the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, Bill 15 will provide to the Banff Centre, the College System of Alberta, as well as the 2 technical institutes, the power whereby they can become, for contribution purposes, agencies of the Crown, whereby citizens interested in assisting in the post-secondary system of education may donate to those institutions through a foundation and receive credit for income tax purposes of 100% of their contribution.
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education has moved first reading of Bill number 15, Universities Foundations Amendment Act 1992. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 15, Universities Foundations Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Gogo, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Occupational Health and Safety.
Speaker, I wish to file the response to written question 205. And also, Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to table the 1990-91 annual report for Alberta Public Safety Services and Alberta Occupation Health and Safety annual review.
Thank you. Minister of Transportation and Utilities.
Required by statute, I beg leave to table the Gas Alberta Operating Fund report for the year ending March 31st, 1991.
Okay. Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to file 4 copies of an offering memorandum dated February 25th, 1992.
Additional tablings.
Introduction of special guests.
Member for Drumheller, followed by the Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to all members of the Assembly Major Lloyd Graham, who is currently stationed at Canadian Forces Base Greenwood in Nova Scotia. Major Graham is a native Albertan from Forestburg, and he joins us today to observe our legislature in action. Major Graham is sitting in your gallery, Mr. Speaker, and I'd ask him to rise and receive the cordial welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor today to introduce to you and to the members of the Assembly the 1992 Premier's 4-H Award recipient, Miss Annette Polanski. She's seated in your gallery and accompanied by her father, Mike, and her younger brother, Charles. Annette and her family are from Thorhill, which is in the riding of the honourable member from Redwater, Andrew. I had to twist his wrist to get this honour away from him. I'd ask that they stand and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
Speaker, it's my pleasure, sir, to you and through you to members of the Legislative Assembly, 2 groups. And I begin with the first group from the St. Teresa School. We have some 58 visitors. They are joined by their teachers, Mr. Gissy and Ms. Poshman. They're in the members gallery, and I would ask if they would rise so that we could all extend to them a very warm welcome. I also have, Mr. Speaker, a group of some 21 visitors from the Brentwood School. They are joined by their teacher, Mrs. Shirley Ann Hacking. They are in the public gallery, and I would ask if they could rise also so that we could extend a very warm welcome to them.
West Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, today we're privileged to have in the gallery a visiting guest from Edson, Alberta, Ursula Martin, who is a former practicing midwife before coming to Alberta.
Edmonton Centre.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. In the in the public gallery are 13 visitors from the studying at the Alberta Vocational Centre. They're here to get together with their teacher, Ms. Bev Cooper and Ms. Atiya Sadiqui. I'd ask that they please now rise and receive the welcome from the members here today. Thank you.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Edmonton Highlands.
Mr. Speaker, last year about this time, the Treasurer was flogging a so-called balanced budget in the Assembly, knowing full well that it was anything but balanced. Now, Mr. Speaker, we know this because just 2 months later, that same minister maneuvered a bill through the Assembly that called for an increase in the debt of this province by $2 billion. Will the Treasurer now tell Albertans if the $2 billion deficit bill that he maneuvered through the House last spring is going to be enough to cover the deficit that this government has incurred in that time, or is he going to have to come back to this Assembly and ask for even more to cover last year's deficit?
Mr. Speaker, yesterday afternoon I advised the members of the Legislative Assembly, together with all Albertans, that we will be presenting our budget on Monday, April the 13th, to Albertans. And in it, we will present a full accounting of what we have done to the fiscal year ended, our best forecast for March 31st, 92, together with a budget forecast for the year 92-93. But the member makes an interesting comparison or connection between the request for the Legislative Assembly for borrowing limits and the budget. Mr. Speaker, what we do here time and time again is to balance our position in terms of advising Albertans and getting approval of the Legislative Assembly for borrowing limits, which match our position and provide some flexibility on the deficit side. And we have done that for the past 5 years since we encountered difficulties with oil price, and because we have nothing to hide and are upfront with our disclosure, we in fact will come back again for another bill this year along the same lines, which will match our requirements for financing providing the flexibility we need, Mr. Speaker, and provide that full accounting to Albertans.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, the proper answer to the question is yes, he's going to have to ask for more money to cover last year's deficit. Mr. Speaker, contributing in no small way to last year's deficit is the mess that happened with Novotel under the stewardship of the Minister for Technology, Research and Telecommunications. First of all, they had to buy it back from TELUS for $185 million. Then they had to cover $131 million in operating losses. And my question to that minister is this: is the minister now prepared to sell? Is that minister now prepared to sell this outfit, Novotel, at some $30 million, which would have the net result of adding to the taxpayers' cost of $286 million? Is that what he's planning to do, Mr. Speaker? Totally related.
Mr. Speaker, the Management Committee of Novotel continues to hold discussions with interested parties with respect to Novotel, and at such time as there is an announcement to be made, I will make that announcement.
Supplementary, final.
Well, Mr. Speaker, now that the minister is back in the House, I'd like to ask him if he's going to help his provincial treasurer partner here in attempting to reduce the deficit by as much as they can manage, and believe me, that ain't much given their track record. Is he prepared, if he has to sell Novotel at a bargain basement price, is he prepared also to dump the costs that go with it, that is the government underwriting of that company?
Mr. Speaker, it's not surprising that there should be some speculation with respect to Novotel, given the process that I said is ongoing. And I presume that there may indeed be further speculation, but I'm not going to comment on that speculation. I don't think that's helpful or responsible.
Second main question, Edmonton Highlands, on behalf of the official opposition.
Designate that question to the member for Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you. Order.
Thank you, Speaker. This government has given a green light to a massive tourism development called Canmore Golf Resort. It's to be built in the ecologically sensitive Bow Corridor without an environmental impact assessment and without a public hearings by the Natural Resources Conservation Board. The promoter just happens to be the president of the Progressive Conservative Association in the Environment Minister's riding. My questions this afternoon are to the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife, Mr. Speaker. Given that the memorandum promoting this project clearly states a major portion of the development will be located on public lands controlled by the minister, and given his responsibility to protect wildlife in the province, how does he justify the decision not to require an EIA or NRCB hearings on this massive project?
Mr. Speaker, with respect to the public land in the Bow Corridor or anywhere else, I and my department take very seriously the concerns with respect to wildlife. There's an integrated resource plan in place. There's been a lot of negotiations, but any call for an environmental impact assessment or referral to the NRCB would have to come from the Minister of the Environment.
Supplementary.
Remains, Mr. Speaker, we have a Conservative government selling and leasing government land to Conservative developers and at the same time waiving requirements for public environmental reviews. Mr. Speaker, will the minister acknowledge that his responsibility to protect wildlife on one hand conflicts with making a deal on these lands with the Old Boys Network?
Well, Mr. Speaker, first of all, this project was put in place and was well advanced prior to the establishment of the NRCB. Indeed, it had received all its approvals from the town of Canmore, and it's located entirely within the limits of the town of Canmore. It received all its approvals from the municipality. It complied with all the tests that were required at that time by Alberta Environment. And indeed, the proponent played by all the rules that were in place at that particular time. Now, having played by those rules, is it proper then to submit that proponent to the new rules after receiving the initial approvals under the rules that were in place?
Final.
Mr. Speaker, what's needed is a comprehensive review of all proposed developments in the corridor, especially on lands owned by the government.
Here, here.
From this offering memorandum, Mr. Speaker, it looks like this developer is going to make $1 million off of lands currently owned by the province. To the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife, how does the minister justify renting public land to this developer at less than $2,500 per year or $38 per acre?
Easy.
Mr. Speaker, I don't, profit is not a word. And with respect, Mr. Speaker, I would be happy to review the honourable member's numbers, and we'll report back.
Good loser.
Edmonton Glengarry on behalf of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, instead of showing concern for Alberta's huge debt, the Treasurer says taxpayers can afford the growing costs of deficits. He says that a reasonable amount of debt is part of everyone's business plan, and most extraordinarily, he says, and likens Alberta's debt to that of using a Visa credit card. I'd like to know, Mr. Treasurer, when is the Treasurer going to stop being flippant and even arrogant about this most serious of issues and put forward a plan to deal with this huge crisis?
Well, Mr. Speaker, if anybody's arrogant, it's the member from Glengarry. What we are doing here, Mr. Speaker, is providing a very even-handed approach, the way in which we're managing the government of Alberta's business on behalf of the people of Alberta. We have a mandate to do that, Mr. Speaker. We presented a plan to accomplish our end. Mr. Speaker, we have made a very upfront and, I think, open approach to how we are going to work our way out of the problems which struck Alberta in 1986-87. And in doing that, Mr. Speaker, all Albertans know that either you had to increase taxes or slash expenditures or use a reasonable amount of debt to accomplish those ends. And we used the balanced position of all three, controlling expenditures, increasing taxes to some extent, but still the lowest in Canada, but we had to borrow some money to smooth us through that period. Nobody likes to have debt, Mr. Speaker. That's the clear message. But it is a reasonable and balanced plan that allows us to afford the debt in this province more than any other province in Canada, and certainly more than the government of Canada can as well, Mr. Speaker. That's the advantage we have in Alberta. That's the strength we have in Alberta, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we can, despite not wanting to have any kind of a deficit or debt, that we can manage through this problem, unlike the member of the Liberal Party across the way.
Treasurer has suggested that Albertans can incur more debt. It's a nice message to send to everybody. But he notes that homeowners pay some 35% of their income, or can pay 35% of their income on mortgages. Does this mean, Mr. Treasurer, that you expect in your plan to get Albertans up to that point where they're paying $4 billion just to service the huge debt that you've created?
Oh, not at all, Mr. Speaker. What I said in the House before is that, for example, in the case of Ontario, which was under a Liberal administration for some time, until the people of Ontario came to their senses, not quite right, but they're on the way back to the Conservative Party again, we know that. But in that province, Mr. Speaker, you have debt ratios which are very, very high. And I have said in this House before that Alberta has the lowest debt ratio of any province in Canada, with the one exception of British Columbia, and we're probably 1/3 below any other province in terms of that debt ratio, Mr. Speaker. But don't forget, Mr. Speaker, that we are probably one of the few provinces that has a strong sense of assets in the form of savings in the Heritage Savings Trust Fund. We have the lowest possible tax levels right now in the province of Alberta, and we have reduced our expenditures accordingly, Mr. Speaker. We have an eye on that deficit. We're controlling our overall business plan, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to manage our way out of this. We're not going to put up the crisis flags the way the two socialist parties are. We're not going to scream and shout and run about as both of these opposition parties are, Mr. Speaker. We have an even-handed plan, and we're going to work it out with Alberta's help.
Final.
The Treasurer has used the expression a balanced amount of deficit. It's something that he has dreamt up. After 7 deficit budgets, which we'll see on Monday, and a debt of $17.7 billion, Is this the definition of a balanced amount of deficit, Mr. Treasurer?
Mr. Speaker, Albertans know that they can't trust that member's words. I have corrected him time and time again in this House, Mr. Speaker. No, time and time again, I have set the record straight. He has continued to say that the debt of the province of Alberta is over the $17 billion. I have explained very carefully that that amount of money includes deficits which are including the Alberta Municipal Financing Corporation, which is a self-funded entity outside the province of Alberta, providing debt to municipalities, not to the province of Alberta. The debt of this province, Mr. Speaker, and I'll be confirming that more fully over the course of the next week, is between $10 to $11 billion. Any other statement is absolutely misleading.
Order. 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 Banff Cochrane, followed by Edmonton Centre.
Speaker, my questions today are to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Many Albertans may be unaware that approximately 70% of our provincial budget go to people services, health, education, and social services. Mr. Speaker, these services consume revenue, they do not generate revenue. In order to maintain these services, we must create income. To the Minister, elsewhere in this country, jobs are being lost as a result of the global recession. What's this minister doing in Alberta to create jobs for Albertans?
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member for Banff Cochrane has stated, we are in a North American and a worldwide recession. But notwithstanding that fact, since 1985 in the province of Alberta, there has been an excess of 120,000 jobs created. In 1991, last year, Mr. Speaker, we've seen an excess of some 14,000 jobs created in the province of Alberta. And I would compare that to the province of Ontario, which saw a loss in excess of 100,000 jobs, and on a Canada-wide basis, we saw a loss in excess of 200,000 jobs. That compares to our creation, whereby in the other parts of Canada they are losing jobs, and that's a direct result of the economic diversification policies as advocated by our Premier and our Provincial Treasurer. Mr. Speaker, we've not only stopped as it relates, or we've not only continued on as it relates to our own economic policies in this province, but we've also led, as the Premier has led, the fight against the rising dollar and interest rates, whereby we are seeing them coming to more levels that are realistic as it relates to production within this province and the job creation aspect. We work directly with our Alberta firms.
Save a bit for the supplementary.
Here in Alberta, Mr. Speaker, we've depended traditionally on the agriculture sector and the oil and gas sector as our economic generators, and as everyone in the chamber is aware, both of those sectors are extremely flat. What's the minister doing to expand Alberta's economic horizons to reduce that dependency?
Mr. Speaker, we just recently saw whereby the Minister of Public Works was on a mission to Beijing, whereby substantial amount of business contracts were signed, thus creating jobs in the province of Alberta, because we recognize that we are exporters. I'm happy to leave the honourable member with a number of examples whereby book publishing itself has risen some 300% since 1986. The value-added component in agriculture is in excess of $4.5 billion, exceeding primary production. The electronics industry has grown some six-fold since 1981. The chemical industry has gone from a $500 million industry to a $3 billion industry. Our exports, Mr. Speaker, account for some 250,000 jobs within the province of Alberta. Tourism, under our capable minister, has more than tripled since becoming in office. Our forestry sector, some $3.4 billion worth of investments, creating some 1,200 jobs. Mr. Speaker, these are just examples of the job creation within our province and our support for the small business community, whereby we have the lowest taxation rate for the small business community of any province in Canada, plus our many programs to support them.
Edmonton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With every passing day, we hear just how things are in the oil and gas sector in this province, with prices falling, drilling reduced, thousands of jobs lost, provincial revenues slashed by billions of dollars, and investors getting less than 2% return on their investment. However, Mr. Speaker, there are those in the pipeline business who transport the oil and gas as monopolies that are still getting 12, 13% rate of return on their investment often have little incentive for efficiency and continue to charge high tolls to already hurting producers. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the monopoly here in Alberta, Nova Pipeline, set their rates behind closed doors and just high enough to turn around and give $15,000 into the pockets of the Progressive Conservative Party and $8,000 to the provincial Liberal parties, Alberta's two anti-monopoly parties in this legislature. I want to know from the Minister of Energy if he will agree to get Nova's rate setting and high tolling processes out from behind closed doors and to set tolls that reflect competitive costs of capital and of service.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to know that the member for Edmonton Centre was listening to the debate yesterday on the Nova Terms of Service regulation, because therein lies the source of information for his question. I pointed out in debate yesterday that there are producer committees that meet on a regular basis with Nova to deal with a number of issues outside of the regulatory arena. I should point out to the honourable member that it reduces the costs of going to regulatory arena, and at the same time has provided the opportunity for producers and Nova to come to common understandings on issues facing both the transporter of oil and gas and also the producers that ship on that system. Mr. Speaker, another important point as a sidebar, it's the first time I've ever heard the NDP use the word return on investment, Mr. Speaker. I want to congratulate them. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, if producers have a concern with the tolling methodology or the rate of tolls that Nova levies against throughput, they simply have to make an application to our Alberta Public Utilities Board, and there will be a hearing.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, the minister isn't going to get very high rate of return on that answer. I can tell you producers have already taken this issue to the Public Utilities Board. What I want to know from the minister, which he did not mention yesterday or anywhere in public that I've heard of, is whether he will follow the lead of the National Energy Board, which has announced recently that they want public consultations on this matter. And will the Minister of Energy follow their lead and have open hearings on a new approach called incentive regulation of pipelines, which will have lower tolls, more efficient and incentives for service from the current ineffective and costly rate setting, which hurts the oil and gas producers but puts thousands of dollars into political parties on the other side of the House?
Mr. Speaker, let me say that the honourable member is right. He is not in touch with the things that I've been saying or doing or that our government has been doing, and I want to congratulate him for having one thing right in his question. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member should know, if he doesn't, that I ordered a review of Nova before the Energy Resources Conservation Board that was public to the honourable member. He could have attended and listened to the debate on how Nova should relate to producers. I expect a report back from the Energy Resources Conservation Board in the middle of May. At that particular time, producers will have expressed in an open public way before the ERCB their views about relationships with Nova under current circumstances. If producers want changes considered, Mr. Speaker, this government will give it full consideration.
Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alberta has a disaster assistance program to cover disasters for Albertans that cannot be covered by any form of insurance or cannot be insured against. My question is to the Minister in charge of disaster services. Now that Monarch Insurance has been refused backup insurance, or has refused to back up bench insurance agencies, will the Minister guarantee this House that anyone that suffered a loss which could not be insured against through the bench agency failure will be recompensed? What the hell's he doing on?
Order, please. Order. It's still called for order. The appropriate minister will now respond. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'll be discussing the matter with the Minister of Consumer Affairs, and if there's some way that we can assist, we will look at it and report back to the House.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a bigger disaster than I thought that the switch ministers are going to. This is to the Minister of Agriculture, the foreclosure-happy minister there. Since it's possible that some of the farmers that have suffered a loss that couldn't be compensated for by bench going under could be in a financial hard way to make payments to ADC, will the minister give the assurance to the House that no one will be foreclosed on by ADC if their loss is due to, if their income is due to bench insurance?
Mr. Speaker, I could share with the honourable member in the House that the Ag Development Corporation does have an ongoing disaster loan program that can be used to respond to needs in the farming community where something happens beyond the control of the individual farmer. I can also share with the House that at least 2 farmers are carrying on discussions with ADC in connection with that program as a result of problems caused by the non-payment of insurance claims.
Calgary Fish Creek, followed by Edmonton Strathcona.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Several days ago in the Assembly, the Attorney General tabled with the members the 1991 Annual Report of the Law Society of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to draw your attention and that of the members to a very interesting report within that document written by Vernon Morrison as a retiring lay bencher, a representative of the general public in the administration of the affairs of the Law Society. In his report, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Morrison quite properly acknowledges that public involvement in the society has been accomplished, in his words, to some degree, and then also, in his words, there is still a way to go. And in that context, Mr. Speaker, he recommends that a lay bencher be appointed to the executive of the Law Society. My question to the Attorney General, would he be prepared to communicate to the Law Society his endorsement of this very interesting concept?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity in the Assembly to thank Mr. Morrison and Mr. Thibodeau as 2 lay benchers recently retired. Have spent 8 years as lay members to the Law Society. They have been replaced, and we also increased the lay benchers by another 1. The Assembly appoints, or Order in Council appoints lay benchers, but we don't have the capacity to appoint them to the executive of the Law Society. I'd be delighted to take that forward.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the Attorney General's willingness to do that. And while we're on the subject of public participation in the affairs of the Law Society, I'm wondering, would the Attorney General be prepared to invite the Society to develop additional recommendations for involvement by public representatives in the Society's disciplinary procedures?
Mr. Speaker, I'd be delighted to do that at my next meeting, although a recent amendment to our Legal Professions Act has opened up the discipline procedure to the public to show that, in fact, I think to quote the words of Mr. Thibodeau, that the lawyers have nothing during their discipline. Their interest is the public, and although the Law Society polices lawyers on behalf of the public, they are doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are for the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs. In a letter from the Alberta Insurance Council to one of the victims of the bench insurance fraud, Mr. Kelly Morton, which I have for filing, and which is dated just 1 week before the Consumer Affairs Consumer Alert was issued, the Insurance Council of Alberta states, "We have conducted an investigation and there does not appear to be any violations of the Alberta Insurance Act." My question for the Minister is, could he please explain to us how it is that just a week before the Consumer Alert was issued, the Alberta Insurance Council is on record as stating that there are no violations of the Alberta Insurance Act?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I can't be sure of what letter the member's talking about since he didn't file it during filings and hasn't sent it to me, but if it's the same one that I asked that question of, dated March 19th, March 19th of this year, then the answer that the Insurance Council gave me, and which I believe to be the case, is that they were responding to specific complaints from Mr. Morton with regards to his own claim and the adjudication of that claim, not to complaints with respect to the viability or the legality of the entire company.
Mantry.
Mr. Speaker, the question is again for the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs. I've been attempting to find out just exactly what the regulatory function of the Alberta Insurance Council is, but have been unable to do so since their bylaws are not a matter of public record, and I've been unable to obtain them without the agreement of the minister, according to the council. I'd be interested in seeing this document. I think Albertans would as well, and I'm wondering if the minister would undertake to file with the Assembly a copy of the bylaws of the Alberta Insurance Council.
Mr. Speaker, the Alberta Insurance Council operates under regulation of the Government of Alberta, and I'd be happy to give those to the honourable member at any time. By the way, if he actually wants information, he's welcome to call and talk to me about that. I'll take his specific request under consideration. Personally, I don't know any reason why he couldn't have those bylaws.
Beverly, followed by Calgary Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over the last few years, the municipalities have been paying a very high interest rate on interest debentures from the Municipal Financing Corporation, and have therefore created a large surplus in the fund. The legislation is very clear that any surpluses in this fund are owed to those who created it, and it's their money. Municipalities are prepared to use this money for capital projects and infrastructure improvements, which would, of course, create jobs, much needed jobs in this province. My question is to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. Will the Minister agree to pay this money back to the rightful owners in a program designed to fight recession and create jobs?
There's no question, Mr. Speaker, that there has been a surplus created in the fund referred to by the honourable member. There's also no question, Mr. Speaker, over the last 12 years, this government has paid the municipalities in debt reduction amounts something like $2.1 billion for debt reduction and interest reduction at that time. The fund that is being referred to is headed by a board of directors who are sitting at this time studying the recommendations as to what will be done with the surplus that is in fact in that fund, and we do acknowledge, and I expect it within the next week, there will be announcements made.
Country Edmonton Beverly.
The government has not yet committed funds to the AMPLE program and refuses to make commitments about the payment of the surplus of the MFCs. Local governments just don't need another Premier's Conference to look about transferring to municipal funds. Will the Minister commit the bold funding of the AMPLE to the municipalities are expecting, and return the surplus MFC funds rather than grabbing them, rolling them into one program to help the government's bottom line and erode the quality of life in Alberta cities and towns?
Mr. Speaker, if I heard the honourable member say that there has not been a payout from the AMPLE fund or from the Alberta Municipal Financing Corporation, then he is clearly wrong, if that is in fact what I've heard, because there has been a promise of $500 million to be paid out of that fund to the participating municipalities over a period of years. That period has some years to run yet. However, the past years have been paid, and the promises of the government have been kept in regard to the payout from that fund.
Speaker, my question today is to the Minister responsible for Technology, Research and Telecommunications. Mr. Speaker, news that the government is contemplating selling Novotel for as little as $30 million raises some pressing questions. My first question to the Minister responsible for Novotel is simply this: is the Minister aware that there's up to $2 million of federal funding available from Western Economic Diversification for the creation and the establishment of international markets for Novotel, provided the privatization is completed before the end of June this year?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Now, number two. After staking as much as $925 million of taxpayer money, if this company on Novotel, if this company is sold, will the minister guarantee Albertans that the 500 jobs in Calgary, the 400 in Lethbridge, and the technology that we've got in this plant stay in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, as I indicated earlier in my answer to the honourable member for Edmonton Highlands, the Management Committee of Novotel continues to hold discussions with interested parties in relation to the future of Novotel, and at such time as an announcement is appropriate, then I will make that announcement at that time.
Athabasca-Lac-La-Biche, followed by Edmonton Mill Woods.
My question is to the Honourable Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. On Tuesday, a proposal was announced to build a $2.3 billion paper mill in northwestern Alberta. I understand that the new project will require at least 30% bleached kraft pulp for their paper structure. Mr. Speaker, thank God we didn't listen to the leaders of the official opposition, the Liberals, who wanted a moratorium on all pulp mill development 2 years ago. In fact, on Monday, the leader of Liberals said LPAC was an embarrassment, and LPAC will be putting $2 million per day into the economy by July of this year. Shame! 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 Oh, what a... And they say we have a crisis in Alberta. That's why there is a crisis, right there. My question, Mr. Speaker, my question to the Honourable Minister is, would the Minister agree that this new proposal is a result of project like Alberta Pacific, a spin-off of project like Alberta Pacific?
Good question.
Right, good question.
Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt that it has certainly contributed to other companies looking within the province of Alberta, recognizing that ALPAC will be a producer of kraft pulp, and if the Grand Alberta Paper project were to proceed, they would have to be involved with respect to the purchase of pulp. There has been many, many spin-offs from the ALPAC project, and Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Economic Development may wish to supplement.
Supplementary, Athabasca-Lac-La-Biche.
Mr. Speaker, supplement again is to the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. Will the Minister give some assurance that projects like Alberta Pacific will be given first priority to be able to sell their kraft pulp mill to these new proposed projects?
Mr. Speaker, that would be a market-based decision, of course, by the company. However, I'm hopeful that supply of kraft would come from local mills within the province of Alberta. That would certainly contribute to jobs and the value added that we've been attempting to provide to the province of Alberta over the course of the last number of months. There may be some response by the Minister of Economic Development with respect to any discussions he's had with them with respect to the purchase of pulp.
Honourable Member for Athabasca-Lac-La-Biche for the aggressive nature in which he has pursued these issues so that we can have job creation in the province of Alberta. The spin-off benefits are enormous as it relates to not only Alberta Pacific but the other direct involvements that we do have within the forestry sector, and this is a very important component of the 12,000 jobs within the forestry sector that I referred to earlier.
Wow.
Here, here. Edmonton Mill Woods, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Education. The other day in the Assembly, the Minister downplayed the concerns of Alberta teachers regarding the air quality problems in schools in our province, and yet Occupational Health and Safety just last November shut down a site of asbestos removal at an Edmonton school only months after the same board promised to clean up its act following earlier shutdowns by Occupational Health and Safety. So to the Minister of Education, I'd like to ask, given that since that time, at least 5 school maintenance personnel who have been exposed to asbestos in schools have been diagnosed with spots on their lungs, and we don't know how many students or teachers may have been exposed, but we know at least 5 school maintenance personnel. Will the Minister tell the Assembly what steps he's going to take, if any, to ensure the safety of teachers, students, and workers in Alberta schools against this deadly substance?
Let's have some action.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to make sure that the Edmonton Public School Board does its job.
Supplementary.
Glad to hear that. They certainly need some direction. But let me ask a supplementary then to the Minister for Occupational Health and Safety. Mr. Speaker, given that 10 out of 18 Albertans who died from workplace exposure to hazardous substances in 1990 died from exposure to asbestos, what assurance will the Minister of Occupational Health and Safety give to the workers in this province that there will be much stricter enforcement of the asbestos regulation in this province?
Mr. Speaker, in regards to the Edmonton Public Schools, our department received the concern, investigated the concern, and issued some orders. And we will continue to issue orders to every industry and every workplace who has it. We'll continue to do that. All we have to do is know where it's at and have the complaint registered with us.
Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, recognizing the ecological importance of the Clearwater River area, the Saskatchewan government has designated their portion of that river under the Canadian Heritage River System and in fact has created a provincial park around it. My question is to the Minister of Tourism, Parks and Recreation. Has the Minister considered setting aside a wilderness park along the Clearwater River from the Alberta border to Fort McMurray in order to mirror the park that currently exists on the Saskatchewan side?
Here. Mr. Speaker, on the Alberta side, we already have the White Mud Falls Ecological Reserve, which protects a portion of that river. And I'm sure that in our forest management agreement, the lands will be set aside all the way along the river as they are elsewhere to protect the river into the future. There has been a group that have made a trek through that area, and our department is reviewing it and will continue to review it.
Wilderness protection under a forestry management area. Mr. Speaker, Kurt Vonnegut couldn't have written that answer. Since the Alberta government has done nothing but procrastinate over designating any river under the Canadian Heritage River System, will the Minister please consider recommending that Alberta's portion of the Clearwater River be designated under this program?
The designation of heritage rivers is now under the Department of Environment. And indeed, we had a task force report not so long ago on Alberta's entry into the heritage rivers system, and once the recommendations are firmed up, it will be taken to government, and it will be my recommendation that we enter the program and that the Clearwater be one of those rivers considered for designation.
My honourable colleague. There's presently, Mr. Speaker, an 855-kilometer ecological reserve currently along the Clearwater River in the upper reaches near White Mud Falls. The Forest Service also operates 6 recreational sites along there, and I know the members of the Canadians responsible for northern development are very interested in what more can be done, and I would encourage them to be involved in the discussion on the Forest Management Agreement ground rules.
Karimbi.
There's currently a salary dispute involving the Battle River School Authorities Association of its teachers is resulting in some 22,000 students and being out of class and 10 jurisdictions shut down, essentially, as far as education is concerned. While parents, students, and the general public are aware that this matter should be resolved through regional negotiations, they are increasingly concerned that no such negotiations seem to be taking place as the days go by. Mr. Speaker, I wish to ask the Minister, and I guess it would be the acting Minister of Labour now, as to what efforts, if any, are being made through the Department to bring the sides together.
I have had a conversation with the Minister of Labour on this issue, and she advises me that her department has had discussions with individuals involved in this dispute. I understand that a mediator has been set in place, and I also understand that both parties have agreed to return to the bargaining table sometime this weekend.
Mr. Speaker, my supplementary question is to the Minister of Education. Mr. Speaker, in these circumstances, it's been customary for the Department of Education, or Alberta Education, to to provide correspondence courses and distance education services to grade 12 students. I would like to ask the Minister as to whether or not he's received any requests in this regard and whether the department is able to deliver the services.
Mr. Speaker, I'm advised that by the Learning Resources Distributing Center that some 4 school boards, the County of Wetaskiwin, the County of Lacombe, the County of Camrose, and the County of Ponoka, have requested and in fact have received a number of sets of distance education materials. A relationship has been worked out between the center and the Barhead Correspondence School and those 4 school boards to ensure that students are able to get on track in their learning. And Mr. Speaker, with these packages. And Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to note that there are some incredibly dedicated and hard-working people working to make sure that these kinds of correspondence materials are delivered to these school districts so that they can be put in front of kids as quickly as possible. In fact, on April the 6th, the request came in at 4:30 p.m. from the County of Lacombe. The order was packed by the following morning at 10 o'clock. The County of Lacombe office called twice during the morning and added additional material such that they were shipped out by 12:10 p.m. that afternoon and received by the County of Lacombe office at 3:10 p.m. And that, Mr. Speaker, speaks well of the dedicated and hard-working public servants in this government who are there trying to help kids get their education during this very difficult time.
It's the way we work in Barhead.
Tony Plain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a spin-off of the PAC project was supposed to be local jobs during construction and after it opened up. Mr. Speaker, residents of Lac-La-Biche area are very concerned about being squeezed out of jobs at ALPAC because they won't be qualified. Qualified workers are likely going to be brought in from British Columbia. Part of the problem is that AVC in Lac-La-Biche doesn't have the equipment necessary to train workers in the areas of power engineering, log hauling, or forestry trucking. To the Minister of Career Development and Employment, then, given that ALPAC has benefited from some $275 million in subsidized loans from the Heritage Fund, what action is the Minister taking to have ALPAC provide the equipment necessary for training the local workers, the same sort of cooperative arrangement that Lakeland College has with the Lloydminster Upgrader?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm so pleased to hear that the honourable member now supports the development in the building of LPAC. That's 2 in a row today in the Assembly. I can't believe it. Mr. Speaker, in fairness to the honourable member, though, he's raised some important questions because they do need clarifying. First of all, I'd like to point out that Lac-La-Biche is not the only centre for training in northern Alberta. We have involved many other members of the Assembly, such as the honourable member for Slave Lake, where we have mobile training facilities put in place as well. We have such things as the log hauling and trucking programs taking place in Fort McMurray area as well as Lac-La-Biche. I've had ongoing meetings with ALPAC and their officials, the honourable member for Athabasca, I might add, on a regular basis. We have commitments from ALPAC for the hiring of some 150 local people for that specific job. In the very near future as well, we're putting in a mobile industrial training center right in that constituency to assist in the development of training for people in that area.
Mr. Speaker, just because that government brings in foreigners without EIAs and whatnot doesn't mean that I want to see foreign workers or non-Alberta workers run those plants. So I'm advocating on behalf of the local workers. Now, the bottom line is, Mr. Speaker, that AVC in Lac-La-Biche, the closest training to the center to the plant, does not have the facilities. The local people have not been given the opportunity to go elsewhere, and we do not have a consolidated plan of training workers to be ready for November. And I again ask the Minister, what specific plans, how many workers, at what schools, in order to meet the requirements that are going to be coming up in November?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the question would be more appropriately put on the order paper, but I'd like to try and answer part of it. First of all, there are many programs, and the honourable member referred to one, and that's the power engineering program that takes place at NEAT. But the Honourable Minister of Advanced Education, I'm sure, would like to point out that the facility was built to train people for the Northern Alberta. It's a very large centre, and as a former MLA for the area, I can attest to how good the facility is as well. What we are doing, though, is ensuring that programs are being put in place throughout Northern Alberta, and that I can assure the Honourable Member that the local hiring preference is the first and foremost of LPAC as well.
Very good. Right, we have unanimous consent to revert to the introduction of special guests. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, seated in the members' gallery are 150 licensed practical nurses and members of their professional council who are visiting the legislature today. Members will recall that licensed practical nurses used to be designated as registered nursing assistants, but with an act of this legislature last year added a new word to their title, and it made me think while I was sitting here that they've set a wonderful example for professions in this province, because just think of it, we could have practical teachers and practical doctors and practical politicians.
That would be a change.
Anyway, I would like to introduce members of the executive of the Professional Council, Mr. Wayne Seward, who is the president of the Professional Council of Licensed Practical Nurses, Linda Scarrow, the vice president, Pat Fredrickson, executive director and registrar, and Julio Rave, who is the president of the Canadian Association of Practical Nurses and Nursing Assistants. I would ask all our visitors to rise and receive a warm welcome from the members.
Here, here.
Standing Order 40 request, Edmonton Jasper Place.
Here, colleagues in the Assembly, I'll just speak to the pressing necessity on this motion. In the province of Alberta, here in the city of Edmonton, it's currently today possible to buy cowboy boots made out of elephant hide. Now, international trafficking in wildlife parts and artifacts is regulated by the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species and of Wild Fauna and Flora, which has 200 country signatures, including Canada. Under this convention, endangered species parts and artifacts are in Canada routinely seized at the border. But there's a problem that if the material does slip through the border, there is no, technically it's legal to sell them once they get past the border. The Government of Canada has legislation before the House of Commons called the Wild Animal Plant Protection Act, which is designed to remedy the situation, but I'm informed that the legislation has not reached second reading and is at least 1 year away. Meanwhile, the products are now on sale to an unsuspecting public who would assume that because they're advertised openly and sold that they're legal. Now, the difficulty is that it may soon become illegal to possess these items under federal legislation, and if a person is unfortunate enough to travel to another country, they could be arrested for having possession of illegal wildlife parts, and they almost certainly would not be able to bring their possession back into the country, Canada. Now, I have a specific suggestion to make to the government, but I would like to ask members of the Assembly to give permission to deal with this urgent matter today.
Again, for the benefit of those who are watching this for the first time, a Standing Order 40 request deals with the matter of urgency of debate. It does not relate to the matter of what the motion itself is about. So first I must ask the House, all those in favor of allowing the matter to proceed, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. No. The matter of urgency fails. Thank you. Orders of the day. Order. Order. Orders of the day.
Written questions.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the written questions on today's order paper stand and retain their place, except for the following.